Hello my friend, welcome in Light Code channel and welcome in new episode. In this episode we are going to find out what is the single action controller, how to create one, and what are the pros and cons of using it. Please let me answer to this question here. What is the single action controller in fact? In fact, let's suppose that this controller can have only one action, that of, for example, of listing the names of all the users from the database. And that exactly what the single action controller is. It can be create, update, and delete or list and show whatever action your business needs. The single action controller doing a single and special task we need for our application. How to create a single action controller? You may generate an invocable controller by using the invocable method. Option of the make controller, we can execute this execute command php artisan controller. Here name of this controller and this magic method invocable -- invocable. Let me create the new controller or a single action controller. Okay, we'll go to the VS Code and here in the command line php artisan make and controller keyword controller, and we term it this controller, for example, single controller. And here we should add the magic method -- invocable let me classic it. I'll go back to the PowerPoint and invocable. I think I write correct, invocable, and I hit enter, invocable, and hit enter. Yes, I suppose it created for us single action controller. This single action controller, invocable, yes. You can see here this function invoke. After that, we need to answer another question. We will go back to the PowerPoint, and after that we go here. These questions say how to registering our single action controller in the web route, for example. When registering route for the single action controller, you do not need to specify a controller method. Instead, you may simply pass the name of the controller to the route, for example, route. And this example of the registering route for this controller, let me go back to the VS Code and create a new route. Okay. We will go to the web route here, and here we will set single action controller for example, route keyword, and colon, or for example, get. After that, we need to name for this URI for this route. For example, we termed it single, and then we need to add the controller without indicate the method, comma, and calibrate, for example, single controller. You can, it suggests us for us, and colon, and class, and semicolon. You can see here in this route we don't add or indicate the invoke method, which it created automatically here in this controller. We don't indicate this, it indicated automatically. After that, we need added something, or a phrase that show us our project or our program is working fine. So okay, for example, I return this phrase. For example, return this. For example, simple phrase. Hi, my friend, for example. This very simple, but is used for show what we do. So we need to go back to the exam and create a new local server. After that, we should be upload our project on the local server and activate. After that, activate our program or project on the browser and call the single action. Let me do that. This create for us new local server. After that, we need to upload our project, php artisan serve artisan. Hit enter. Our project running on the server on the port 88,000. Now you need to go to the browser, go back to the browser, and here we local host 8000. After that, I add single, for example, single. Let me check it, correct or not. Single web file, single. This okay, single. At hit enter. Does not exist function. What this function does not exist. Let me go back to the VS Code and resolve this problem. Let me many time. Okay, my friend, I create mistake error and create a mistake, and I solve this problem by return to the documentation. In the Laravel documentation here, in this single controller action, we don't need calibrate here and here. I create a mistake here. You can see I must remove this and this. The error will be resolved automatically. So let me remove this and this. Okay, and return to the browser. And here I excuse me, local host, and after this I add single URL. Single, it automatically added it. Yes, hit enter. Yes, you can see here we can access the data we before stored in the invoke function. In this episode we talk about the single action controller, but let me go back to the PowerPoint and answer the rest of the question. Last question say what the pros and cons of the single actions. You can see here the pros. This control single action controller has one job only, has a descriptive name, and it is easy to understand what it does. It is easy to change. But cons here, the single action controller is not well suited for the RESTful applications. I think it would be a bad idea to have a single action controller for each operation, because you would end up with several controllers for each entity, because the RESTful application uses the entity in extend of components. Moreover, if our business logic consists of multiple entities, which is usually this case, you will end up with having tons of controller in your code base. In this episode, we talk about single action controller, what is a single action controller, how it created, and I make mistake and resolve that. You can learn from my mistakes. Thank you for watching. I think this enough for this episode. If this episode helpful for you, please share it and support us by subscribe and share. Thank you again for watching. I wish see you later in new episode. Goodbye.